This is the Tech Phantom, and welcome to episode 11 of the Tales of Conan in Lordran. Conan decides to return to that proving ground for would be heroes, the would be conquerors of this land, and those that have the opportunity to kill Tulsadum, Lord Win, and become kings of the land. Conan is becoming stronger and stronger every day. His mythical strength, of which there are many stories, and causes enemies and foes to flee before him in battle, has returned. His vitality and constitution is also returning, and he feels more invigorated as he travels the lands of Lordran. But he yet does not possess all of the skill and dexterity to wield the claymore like his father had taught him, like he had learned while being a slave fighter in the pits. And as he had been trained by blade masters of kings, whom he served as a bodyguard before becoming a king himself. The strength has come back, the vitality has come back, but his skill has not yet come back. The skill will be the last thing to come back to him. It was something that he gained throughout many years of battle and hours upon hours of training and repeating the sword forms. When he woke up and found himself in the land of Lordran, he realized he didn't have the skills. He could feel it in his muscles as he grasped the claymore. And he knew that it would take a long time for the muscle memory to come back. But he was encouraged in the fact that he did feel coming back slowly. He had conquered the lands below. It was now time to conquer the mythical land of the gods, Anor Londo. According to the teachings of the Wizard of the Mounds and the giant serpents, Cath and Frampt, Anor Londo was the ruling place of Tulsadum, who was known in this land as Lord Win. Conan decided that he would assault this keep and take on all of Lord Win's bodyguards. They will all be mercilessly punished as he sought revenge on Lord Win, on Tulsadum. He was surprised to find that there was no way to climb to Anor Londo. The way instead was through a magical batwing demon. This captain demon ordered his lieutenants to ferry worthy travelers from Sen's fortress to Anor Londo. Anor Londo was considered an unassailable keep on top of a jagged mountain, impossible to climb and only accessible through the winged assistance of the Batwing demons. Upon reaching Anor Londo, Conan marveled at the beauty of the place. It was immense in scope, and it was truly a masterpiece of architecture. The buildings were very large, cavernous, and were made entirely of Italian marble. The place had a mystical and almost religious feeling to it. A place indeed fitting to be the home of the gods. There were two edifices with treasure chests that were guarded by sentinels. These giant brutes wore incredibly strong armor and had a giant shield. The shield was impenetrable. No magic and no weapon could pierce through it. The giants gained access to Lordran's guard after being recruited by Lordran's lieutenants and proving themselves in pitched battle. Only the best were selected to guard Anor Londo's treasures. They were lumbering and slow, but their armor and their shield, along with the powerful magical halberd, made him incredibly dangerous. According to the wizard, there was also a stronger type of a giant, a royal sentinel, that represented the cream of the crop of the sentinels and were recruited by Lordran to be his personal bodyguard unit.
What beacon would there be in this lost city? A gatekeeper.
Conan wondered how difficult
That is my calling.
these royal sentinels would be. The sentinels had not been too much of a challenge to Conan, but Conan was no ordinary fighter. A lesser adventurer would have been shredded and would have been killed almost certainly by the sentinels. Royal was weary as he descended further into the bowels of Anor Londo and marveled at what the royal sentinels would look like. Upon reaching one of the walkways of Anor Londo, he was attacked by a flying gargoyle. He immediately chopped off its tail to decrease the ability of this beast to swing with it. The tail had an axe attached to it, and it was as if the gargoyle had an extra hand. He wielded a halberd and a shield with his two hands, but he also expertly used his tail and an axe. The gargoyle could also spit lightning by flapping its wings and flying up to rain lightning upon its foes. After destroying the gargoyle, Conan went further into a temple. There were priests here, or what Conan thought were priests, in very peculiar outfits. They were dressed in white cloth from head to toe, and they wielded small swords They fought in a dance-like motion, and they use knives and daggers to pierce through their opponent's armor and skin. Conan had decided to sneak through the temple by using the rafters. A dangerous proposition, as one false step would cause him to fall and die. Apparently, the Guardians had anticipated this move, and several of them guarded the rafters. They went down easily as Conan cleft their cloth and their bodies with his claymore and sent them back to their creator. Conan found a gigantic wheel. Upon turning the wheel, the way forward was shown. For a moment there, as Conan pushed the wheel with his mighty muscles, he was remembered of the time he had been a slave in his youth, and he had been forced to work on the wheel and push it every day, day and night, for what seemed to him to be years. Only his incredible strength and fortitude had prevented him from dying while he toiled at the wheel of pain. Instead of succumbing to the toils and to the work, his muscles had responded, and he had become incredibly strong. Eventually, it only took mighty Conan to turn the wheel, when originally the wheel had been designed to be turned by many men and to be used as a mill to grind wheat into flour. Conan reached the bottom of the temple. At one end, he saw a giant portrait. It almost looked like a window. It was painted in a very realistic style. As he approached it, he was magically transported into the drawing. Home! What is this? Where am I? Conan was in the painted world of Ariamis. He had heard stories of this place. Ariamis was a rebel. He hated the gods. The gods had tried to kill Ariamis and try to take back some of the treasures that Ariamis had stolen from Anor, Londo, and from the gods. These were all powerful weapons and items that the gods feared. Ariamis had constructed a magical realm. A portal. Its entrance was the drawing of the painted world, which acted as a portal to this place. Conan knew all of this because the wizard had warned him about it. But he still felt a sense of illness as he had been transported through the painting. He was no fan of magic, especially when it was forced upon him. According to the tales, Ariamis had hidden many items that were dangerous to the gods. These items were protected by the denizens of the Painted World, who would fight anyone who came here to protect its treasures. It was said that someday a worthy adventurer would be able to finally reclaim the treasures of Anor Londo and use them to help Ariamis take revenge on the gods. The Painted World of Ariamis was protected by hollows, much stronger and much more dangerous than the ones in the lower reaches of Lordran. Some of these hollows had engorged heads. They were magical beings and used fire to their advantage. They attacked with torches, but they were also pyromancers. And they could produce flames from their hands. Their engorged head was filled with poison. They could spit that poison out at will to kill their enemies. If they were killed in battle, their heads and bodies would explode, and the poison would engulf and would kill their enemies. So even in death, they had a way to win a battle. The wizard had given Conan the key to defeating these engorged zombies. Conan, you must use fire. The fire will consume the zombies and will protect you in battle. Ah. The wizard is a good friend. I would have been at Crumb's Hall many times, many years ago, if not for the wizard. And that was true. The wizard had been a fountain of knowledge and had helped Conan through many of his adventures, especially here in Lordran, a place that he had never seen before in any of his travels. A magical place that was nothing like the lands of Hyboria. Conan found the dragon protecting loot. This was a hollow beast. Strangely enough, its body split in two, the lower half remaining back, while the upper half clawed its way forward and attacked Conan. This was another poisonous beast that spewed toxin from its mouth. He was dangerous, but Conan had fought many dragons before. And the dragon gave up its life and its treasures to Conan soon enough. Moving forward into a spiral staircase, Conan found enemies that he had never fought before, however. These were female crow demons. They were tall and muscular, and their wings were made of incredibly strong material, almost like steel. Their wing attacks were similar to sword attacks, and they emitted shrieks, high-pitched shrieks. To try to take the attention of their enemies and to put the fear of and to put fear into them as they battled them. They were strong. They were not armored and were easier to take down one at a time. But if you were ever surrounded by two or three, they could be deadly. Conan wondered where these crow demons came from. They appeared to be perched on top of the spiral staircase, keeping an eye on the lands and attacking anyone that proceeded into the lands and reach some of the hallowed treasures. Conan continued and found the snowfield. He saw a sight that was barbaric even by his barbarian standards. Heads and bodies were perched on top of pikes. And there were cell blocks hewn out of giant stone blocks and turned into incredibly harsh prisons. The bodies of the prisoners who had been housed in these cell blocks littered the place. As he inspected the area, he was attacked by Santa's King Jeremiah, a curious pyromancer with a comically large hat. His attire may have been comical, but he was a very, very strong pyromancer. Again, though, he proved to be no match to Conan's strength and Conan's claymore. Having made a loop around and opening a shortcut back to the bonfire, Conan decided to continue exploring and look for some of these treasures and weapons supposedly that had been hidden here and could be used to kill the gods. If he could find anything that could aid him in his revenge with Lord Wind, Tulsa Doom, he would use it. He found a ladder leading down, but his barbaric sixth sense warned him of a trap. He knew there were important items down in the basement of the annex, of the building annexed to this area, but he also knew that he needed to find an alternate route down to the basement. The first route he had found made his sixth sense the first way that he had found appeared to be a trap, as his sixth sense warned him. He continued through the snowfields and found another way down through a well. This was also a trap, and Conan had no other thing to do but to proceed forward. Small walkways had been carved through the stone. They were very narrow, and inside of these were bone-wheeled skeletons who rotated and spun their wheels, which were notched with spear ends. The wheels could cut through armor and skin and could kill you easily. Conan also found another zombie, and he was able to loot one of the fire surge spells that they used in battle. Again, the power of fire as an example. He continued through the labyrinth and found a key. Surely this key would allow him to find the building that housed the treasures that could hurt the gods, the treasures of Ariamis. It was time to leave this dangerous basement. He climbed forward, and he was attacked by many phalanx. These were hollowed agglomerations of humans. The slaves and the prisoners that had died in the snowfields. Their souls, wishing revenge, and their humanity had joined, and many of them turned into one phalanx. They were still covered in the items that had been used to torture and kill them. And you could see 2, 3, even 4 spears protruding through their body. They literally pulled the spears out of their body and used them to attack their enemies. Conan easily cut through the phalanx, and using the key he had found in the lower catacombs of this place, he opened the way through the annexed building. More engorged zombies were there, guarding the place. Surely this is where the treasures and the weapons were housed. He found a dark ember. He would have to ask the blacksmith about it. Obviously this was an important item, because 2 crow demons immediately attacked him when he took the dark ember from its dais. The dark ember was some kind of a magical item that buffed weapons and made them more deadly to the gods. Maybe Conan would use this item. He would have to ask Andre and get some more information. He fought numerous crow demons, which flew down from their perched nests upon seeing Conan. Conan found the secret door, broke through it, and found a magical weapon, Velka's rapier. He continued to explore the annex and found Velka's armor, including Velka's mask. Velka was the goddess of sin and punishment. Apparently, anyone that came to Ariamis committed a sin to Velka and was immediately punished by the followers of Velka. The Painted Guardians, the Hollows, the Engorged Zombies, the Crow Demons, and the Phalanx. Upon reaching the top of a ladder, he was surprised to find an engorged zombie there. For the first time, and hopefully the last, he experienced the toxic cloud that they could exude from their mouth. He immediately fell ill, and his life drained quickly. He was lucky to have a special herb that cleansed the poison from his body and made him feel whole again. But that was a very close call. He had not heeded the wizard's warnings, and he had allowed the fire incantation to be removed from his sword. This had almost cost him his life. He decided to go back to the bonfire, but first he would visit the last place in this area that he had not yet looted. The top of the first tower next to the bonfire. Here he found the soul, and from this vantage point he could see clearly where the crow demons were perched and why they had such a great sight on their enemies. From on top of the spiral case, the crow demons could survey the entire world of Ariamis and easily see anyone that was trying to sneak to the place. It was time to go back to the bonfire and reap the treasures and the souls that he had looted. After all, why do battle if you could not enjoy the treasures of war? He also decided that it was time to leave this place. He had obtained the Dark Ember, and he had looted many souls. He had also found a knuckle from one of the crow demons with some magical teleportation properties. He will have to find out how that item worked. After regaining his constitution and his dexterity, Conan finished looting and decided to find a way out. He remembered the hollow dragon, the undead dragon that had split in two. Its lower body blocked the way forward. Perhaps he could coax it or cut it into pieces if the bottom half did not cede way. He went up to the bridge and made the long trek forward, looking for a way out of this icy and snowy land. He attacked this bounding demon, and it stood up after Conan chopped at it. Conan quickly snuck through its legs and found a way through and and the exit. On the way out, he saw a very beautiful creature. This was Priscilla.
Who art thou?
She
One
was
of us
majestic,
thou art
and she
not.
reminded him
If thou hast misstepped into this world,
of the many women that he had
plunge
loved
down from
earlier
the
in his life,
plank
in his
of
adventures.
If thou seekest
Valeria,
high, thine desires shall be
Belet,
requited not.
Alalia.
Thou must returneth whence thou camest.
She was like
This
all
land
three of
is
them put
peaceful,
together.
its inhabitants
Beautiful,
kind, but thou dost not
regal,
belong. I beg of
but
thee,
wielding an
plunge down from the
incredibly
plank and
powerful
hurry
weapon
home.
in her hands. A scythe with a
Thou
very,
must
very sharp
return
edge.
whence thou came. This land
Conan
is
knew
peaceful,
immediately that
its
one slice
inhabitants
from the
kind,
scythe
but thou dost not belong.
would
I
rip
beg of
right through
thee,
flesh, bones,
plunge down
and
from
cause
the plank
deep
and
wounds
hurry
which
home.
would bleed. She saluted Conan and told Conan not to fight her. There was no reason there was no reason to fight Priscilla. She was the keeper of this place, and apparently she was the owner of the peculiar doll that Conan had found back in his cell at the Northern Undead Asylum. She had been imprisoned there as a young girl, and somehow she had been saved by Velka or by Ariamis or by both, and had been secluded back to the painted world of Ariamis to be its keeper and protector. She was branded an abomination by the gods, and because of that, she hated the gods, and she would secure the items that could kill the gods.